Hello everyone, we're back. Now it's time to talk about a very divisive title in terms of I don't really get it too much. Josh likes it.
Yeah, not the greatest Batman title ever, but it's Batman. I'll take
Right.
it in pretty much any form it comes in.
All-Star Batman #3 is a strange mixture of sea-level villains, reimagined villains, and a lot of red.
Yeah, which we assume is blood. It kind of looks like paint in some of this issue.
Right. All-Star Batman #3, My Own Worst Enemy Part 3, and The Cursed Wheel Part 3. Josh, I'll let you start off with this one.
Well, we get to see a lot more backstory on Bruce Wayne and Harvey Dent, in that they originally met at what was basically a reform school, and they met apparently without knowing each other's names. They were just
Yes.
like 2A and 2B. They were in, adjoining rooms. They ended up becoming friends that summer. That school closed the year after. They didn't meet again until they were adults. And Bruce seems to imply that this reform school, this house they went to, which apparently was made by the Arkhams after they made Arkham Asylum, it seems to imply that this house is the house he's taking Two-Face to. The house
too.
that will supposedly burn the Two-Face out of Harvey Dent, or however he phrased it.
Yes.
Which is very strange. I mean, if that's the house, that's weird. That's kind of weird. I mean, maybe he's hoping to bring Harvey back to his childhood. Maybe that'll overpower Two-Face. It's an interesting backstory to create that connection there. I don't think they'd had that before in comics. It makes for a neat bond between them, and it really makes Harvey one of Batman's most personal villains, really.
Yes.
It gives him a personal connection to Batman.
It really does, because before that we've gotten more villains that are more worried about the Batman persona. But this Two-Face really kind of nags at Bruce Wayne. And we're seeing that as kind of a reimagining of Two-Face, keeping Two-Face to the core, but adding that other layer of that intricacy, that friendship with Harvey Dent and Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, because, before we always had Harvey as District Attorney Harvey, who was always a kind of, not really a confidant of Batman, but there were those scenes where he would meet with Gordon on the rooftop when they met with Batman, and those sort of things. So he was, Bruce had a responsibility to save Harvey and not just put away Two-Face for good. And I think this gives him more of a personal reason to make sure Harvey does actually pull through when it comes to Two-Face.
Yes. We also see the former KG Beast, now the Beast, is a pretty bad, a bad man pajama.
Yeah,
He
wow.
was, I wasn't aware of how powerful. They usually make him a sea-level villain, but
Sea level being, that's complimentary.
yeah, that's gracious.
Yeah,
We're scaling on the curve there.
Yeah.
Grading on the curve.
Yeah.
Boy, enhanced armor fighting technique. Boom. Very, really vicious. If it wasn't for Duke getting there when he did, it looked like Batman and Two-Face were pretty much done for.
Yeah.
Now, of course, all throughout this trip, they've been getting attacked every which way. A lot of villains that you normally don't see are coming out to attack, and Batman's taking his bumps and bruises. Duke gets there, and he rescues him, and Batman tells him to follow the signs that just keep on popping.
Yeah.
And we get to see I guess like a satellite Batcave in a way that it's out of the way, but it's still a Batcave with weaponry. And the character that we have not seen in quite some time, they show, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, we get to see Harold Walnut.
Yes.
Again, the hunchback mute guy who the last time I saw him in a comic was during the Hush.
That was what I was
story
thinking.
arc.
That was the last time I saw him as well.
Yeah, and at that point he'd had his voice box repaired. He was speaking. I think he ended up dying in that, didn't he?
Yeah, I believe Hush
Yeah.
did shoot him.
Yeah, and here he's back. He's back to being mute again. I really liked how they did the word bubbles with
Yep.
his hands, where the word bubbles actually come from his hands, and they're kind of this blue
Mhm.
color. So you know they're different, which was kind of neat, and kind of neat. Mutinous, but sign is kind of something that really gets lost in comics,
Right.
because you really can't do it in the panels of the comic. I mean, that was something that came up like when I read old Teen Titans comics with Jericho. You know, you'd see him do like a couple signs, and you know, in each panel, but you could never really get him, you know, doing a word or
Right.
anything. I mean, just due to the nature of comic books. But that's kind of a cool way to do it.
That is very cool. I just a little bit of attention to detail,
Mhm.
I think, is amazing. Goes a long way. So while Batman and I believe that Duke was telling Batman that Two-Face had dropped off a package, and Gordon is at Wayne Manor, and they're waiting down for a countdown. And once it goes down, they're going to storm Wayne Manor, which we saw, I think, the last issue where they're already there,
Yeah.
and something's going on. But while that's happened, Batman is pretty much oblivious in terms of he's just focused on getting Two-Face to that house.
Mm-hmm.
So even at the cost of exposing his identity, he's dead set on trying to cure Harvey.
Yeah.
And also we see the Penguin, Black Mask, and the Great White. They're kind of worried because they say that we don't have any money to pay the Beast.
Yeah, or at least they don't have his fee.
Right.
And they haven't really explained what his fee is. It's worth noting the Beast, when he confronts Batman and Two-Face, he mentions, you know, having your own personal island and making your own personal rules.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me wonder, does he want an island? I mean, could that be his fee? You know, hey,
Yeah,
you do this, I get my own island, I get my own jurisdiction. And I do have to enjoy seeing three super rich guys like the Penguin, Black
Yep.
Mask, and Great White at a gas station.
Mhm.
And the Penguin's pumping gas. That's
Times are tough.
yeah, that is kind of amazing. It's one of those where I read it, and then I kind of had to go back and think, like, wait a minute, what were they doing in that panel?
Right.
Like, oh wait, he's pumping gas.
And then there's a scene with the hunters that are poking fun at the Penguin.
Yeah.
So he just torches them.
Yeah, with his umbrella.
Yeah.
his umbrella flamethrower. It makes you wonder, like, you know, isn't there a driver to that car? You know,
Right.
wouldn't that kind of be his role to get out and pump the gas? I don't
Pump
know.
the gas and go get him some snacks.
Yeah, and then get verbally abused by the villains in your back seat. I don't know.
Also, what's funny too is that just a couple panels they appeared in the Royal Flush Gang.
Yeah.
You saw a little bit as Batman's driving with Duke, and Batman and Harvey are driving away. All of a sudden, you see just a little smidgen of the gang, and then they come and they say something to the Beast, and the Beast just shoots them down, and
Yeah.
they're just crawling out.
Yeah, they come up on the Beast and they say, "Hey, which way they go?"
Yep.
he throws a little bomb on their little card, and
Mm-hmm.
blows them up. Yeah.
Well, after they get done with Harold helps them out. Batman's kind of dressed the wounds of Harvey Dent, and they talk a little bit about back and forth, and they make a mention about, was it the Joker toxin that they had?
Yeah.
I forget, what was the conversation with that?
Duke brought up the what was the drug they had previously been used on the
Yes.
Joker patients, and he
Mhm.
mentions that it was successful in curing people like his parents, but the side effects wore off, and it would
Yep.
bring on, I think he termed it hyper malice
Yes.
or something like that.
And that
is-
if that's what he was trying to get to work with Harvey, that it wasn't going to stick.
Yeah, and Bruce even said, I know
Right.
that, so he seems to know it's only a temporary
Mhm.
fix, but he's still willing to bet on that. I think he's thinking this house is going to cure Harvey more than anything.
Mhm. At the end of the issue of this one part, we see that it looks like down the tunnel that they're going, they get jumped by some people with lances.
Yeah, it looked like Toothface
Mhm.
thugs. I mean, they had kind of two-toned outfits and lances, which is a little weird, but
And then they hand a vial of acid, which we can assume is acid on for Two-Face, and he throws it on Batman's cowl. And the implication is it's going to blind him or burn his skin. And we'll see where that one goes.
yeah, it seems like Batman would have some sort of safeguard
Yes.
in there. I mean, it can't just be bare eyes or
Mhm.
anything that acid would get through, but who knows?
Yeah. So what is your take on All-Star Batman?
I mean, it's still a very different Batman universe. There is still. You had mentioned before some of the violence sort of turned you off. I will say when I saw Penguin, flamethrower two guys
Yes.
in a gas station in public, it's like, okay, that's a little daring for them to
Right.
do. But I mean, it is. I think it's just simply trying to be an edgier comic. It's also
I
weird
agree.
that did that, and KG Beast chops off a guy's head with a self-sharpening machete or whatever,
Yes.
and I didn't even bat an eyelash. At
Right.
that.
There was a couple of those where, oh, no big deal.
Yeah.
But then you're, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's just you don't expect the Penguin to do that, but
No, I expect the Penguin to, torch them, especially when they're making fun of him, like, well, we need another duck or we
Yeah.
need something, and he's like, oh, well, I need to roast first or something.
Yeah.
Some of the actions of the villains keep in line, and then the actions of the heroes kind of go, oh, wow, this is not quite what I'm used to.
Yeah, I think the hardest part for me to get my head wrapped around is just the relationship between Batman and Two-Face, because that's,
Yes.
I mean, that's a newly established or newly strengthened relationship
Yep.
they've created, and the plot line with this house is still very,
Right.
it's a bit esoteric for me to figure out, so, I mean, we're not going to know till they get to the house if it's really that reform school, or, I mean, could it
Right.
be his childhood home or something, or who knows?
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely find out.
Yeah.
So right now, All-Star Batman #3, still a few more miles to go before they hit the house. We can only imagine what other dangers that they're going to see as the issues continue. But we're going to take our last break, and when we come back, speaking of strange, we have Night of the Monster Men #4 and #5, Batman #8, and Nightwing #6. And we'll be back in just a moment.